Here's a list of American comedians you should know. First on the list is Shane Gillis, coming from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Now, Shane's got a very straightforward and blunt comedic style with hilarious takes on some very controversial topics. One thing that makes his comedy unique is the fact that he often uses his love of history to craft his jokes. You'll often hear him making references to the founding fathers of America, slavery, the civil rights movement, and other important moments in American and world history. Now, he may sound like a typical dude or bro character when he delivers his jokes, but he's undoubtedly a very intelligent comedian with original subject matter. So if you want to check out Shane's work, you can search for his comedy special Live in Austin on YouTube or special Beautiful Dogs on Netflix. And you can check out some of his comedy sketches on his YouTube channel as well as his podcast, Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. Next on the list is Deon Cole, coming from Chicago, Illinois. Now, Deon touches on all kinds of relatable subjects from relationships and money to race and politics, and he does it all in a very clever and charismatic way. I love watching his comedy specials because he can make humorous observations about serious topics, tell engaging stories, and even deliver stupid one-liners that you can't help but laugh at. So if you want to check out Deon's work, you can search on Netflix for his comedy specials, Cold Hearted and Charlene's Boy. Next on the list is Jeremiah Watkins. Now, Jeremiah comes from Kansas City, Kansas, and he has to be one of the most underrated comedians out there today. Apart from being hilarious and a brilliant joke writer in his own right, I've never seen another comedian who can improvise and work a crowd the way he does. It's truly incredible to watch. Now, although he's a comedian by trade, there are also many elements of theater and music in his material. And he's one of the few comedians that delivers a clean style of comedy, meaning there's no vulgar language or controversial jokes, and he can still have you in tears by the end of the show. So if you want to check out Jeremiah's work, you can search on YouTube for his comedy special, Daddy, as well as countless clips of him working the crowd at live comedy shows, and his YouTube series, Stand Up on the Spot, where he invites comedians from all over the country to perform stand-up comedy without any preparation. You can also check out his podcast, Jeremiah Wonders. Next on the list is Anthony Jeselnik. Now, Anthony comes from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he's famous for his extremely dark sense of humor. His comedy specials are full of edgy one-liners that are certainly not for the faint of heart. His comedic timing and delivery really complement his humor as well. He never raises his voice or talks too fast, and he has this deadpan way of delivering his jokes that makes what he's saying even funnier. So if you want to check out Anthony's comedy specials, you can go to Netflix and search for Thoughts and Prayers and Fire in the Maternity Ward. Next on the list is Bill Burr, coming from Canton, Massachusetts. Now, Bill is a legendary comedian known for his unapologetic and blunt comedic style. He often jokes about controversial societal issues, gender dynamics, and his frustrations with everyday life. I love Bill because of his dark sense of humor and his fearless approach to joking about things that a lot of people would consider taboo. So if you want to get a sense of Bill's comedic style, then I suggest you check out the following comedy specials. The first one is Why Do I Do This? The second one is Let It Go. And the third one is You People Are All the Same. And you can find all these specials on YouTube. Now, if you have Netflix, you can find even more of his comedy specials there, as well as his original series, F is for Family, which is a hilarious animated show about a 1970s American family just struggling to get by. Now, this show is based on his own life experience, but it is not an autobiographical account of his life story. It's a hilarious show, and I highly recommend that you check it out. You can also check out Bill Burr's Monday Morning podcast for tons of entertaining rants and crazy stories. Next on the list is Joe List, coming from Whitman, Massachusetts. Now, what I love about Joe is his self-deprecating humor and his matter-of-fact comedic delivery style. Joe's comedy specials often feel like conversations with a funny friend. He shares lots of relatable stories and observations about everyday life. So if you want to check out Joe's work, you can find all of his most recent comedy specials on YouTube, including I Hate Myself, This Year's Material, and Enough for Everybody. You can also check out his podcast, Tuesdays with Stories, co-hosted with comedian Mark Normand. Next on the list is Sam Morril, coming from New York City. Now, I love watching Sam because his comedy is full of clever punchlines and engaging storytelling. He's got a very laid back style of comedic delivery and often includes lots of personal experiences and social observations in his jokes. And much like Joe List, his comedy specials feel much more like conversations than performances. So if you want to hear relatable stories and clever jokes about daily life, then Sam is the comic for you. So if you want to check out his work, you can search for his comedy specials, Positive Influence and I Got This on YouTube, as well as his comedy special, Same Time Tomorrow, on Netflix. You can also listen to his podcast, We Might Be Drunk, which is also co hosted with comedian Mark Norman. And next on the list is the comedian Mark Norman, coming from New Orleans, Louisiana. What I appreciate about Mark's comedy is his observational skills and clever wordplay. He's an interesting character because his voice and delivery style remind you of the classic comedy routines that you'll see on late night talk shows, but he's actually got an extremely dark sense of humor. And that becomes clear when you listen to his unscripted material, which to me is a lot better than his written stuff. So if you want to check out Mark's comedy specials, you can search on YouTube for Out to Lunch or on Netflix for Soup to Nuts. And as I mentioned before, you can listen to Mark co host the podcasts We Might Be Drunk and Tuesdays with Stories. Next on the list is comedian Tom Segura, coming from Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, Tom's comedy is a blend of observational humor and personal stories, often highlighting the absurdities of everyday life. He's got a very relaxed and conversational delivery that often makes you forget that you're listening to a comedy special. But make no mistake, although Tom will often touch on relatable daily topics, he often adds extremely dark twists to his jokes and stories, which is one of the reasons I love him as a comedian. So if you want to check out Tom's work, you can search for the comedy specials Completely Normal, Mostly Stories, Disgraceful, Ball Hog, and Sledgehammer. You can also check out his podcast, Your Mom's House, which he co hosts with his wife and fellow comedian, Christina Pazitsky. Next on the list is Trevor Wallace, coming from Camarillo, California. Now, Trevor Wallace's comedy is heavily influenced by internet culture and the millennial generation. He first gained popularity through his viral comedy sketches on social media, where he would satirize contemporary trends and stereotypes. Wallace has a super high energy delivery style, and his relatable yet unpredictable sense of humor makes him a very unique figure in the stand up comedy scene. So if you want to check out Trevor's work, you can search his name on YouTube and find all of his content on his YouTube channel. All of the comedians on this list bring such a unique style to the world of comedy, but I know there are countless others who I haven't mentioned. So let me run through a list of other comedians who are worth checking out. Patrice O'Neal, Norm Macdonald, Dave Attell, Bernie Mac, Bo Burnham, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Michael Che, Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock, Ari Spears, Jerry Seinfeld, Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, Sebastian Maniscalco, Theo Vaughn, Andrew Santino, and the legendary Joey Diaz.